scanning software. So without any further ado, we'll let David come on and show us what they've been doing. Welcome, David.
Hello, can you hear me okay, everybody? Let me know if my audio is coming through. Fantastic. Well, it's sure a pleasure to be here. My name is Dave Osmond. I am with Thomson Reuters and Metastock. And looking forward to showing you a couple of things that we just came out with, some things we're pretty excited about. And if anybody has Metastock or heard about us, we've got some interesting new things coming out. Before we start, we got to do what we always do before we do a webinar, and that's, of course, to read our standard disclaimer. So if you'll just bear with me for a moment while I read this down, and then we can get started. I appreciate that. This demonstration is designed to instruct you on using Metastock and accompanying software plugins, and are not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using the specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. Thomson Reuters shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of their software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. Okay. I wanted to first just kind of set the stage for you, give you a little bit of background about Metastock, what we're about, where we come from, so you have a better idea of where we're going with Metastock and what's available to you now. I'm curious to know, though, of those of you who are in the room, if you wouldn't mind, how many of you are actually using or have used Metastock platform in the past? I'd be curious to know. Okay. Yeah, Metastock is a technical analysis platform. You don't trade through it, and it's been around for a very long time. Those of us who've been involved in technical analysis, heck, we're older than Microsoft. We've been around for about 30 years, and we were actually founded by Steve Michaelis, who actually wrote, I guess you could kind of say, the Bible of technical analysis, which is Technical Analysis A to Z. It's a great reference manual. If you don't have it, definitely get it. In fact, we'll do a little contest here tonight. If you listen carefully, I'll have a little giveaway for you. We'll give you one of those books, the Technical Analysis A to Z. You know, in 1995, we were purchased by the Reuters Corporation, which, of course, Reuters and Bloomberg are kind of the two big media, data, and financial news resources in the world. And this gave us a lot of tools. It gave us a lot of information, especially news, that wasn't available before. However, since then, they've always been a little bit hesitant to give the same type of access to the retail trader that they give to their corporate traders or their institutional grade traders, your hedge fund managers and brokers, who they typically supply that news to. So it was filtered a bit, and then Thomson and Reuters merged in 2008, creating just a huge organization. And in recent years, we've gone to them and we've asked, hey, can we get a little more of what you give to the institutional clients as far as technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and the things that you do for those people who pay quite a bit of money for that. And can we have it and give it to our retail users? Well, we got a lot of it, actually, a lot more than we thought we could get. So I'm excited to show you some of the things that have been given to us that you have access to that really no other retail trading platform out there has access to. A couple of things you ought to know about us. We've been around 30 years. We are all over the world. We are incredibly international in all over the world, thousands of clients in every country, and we've won the award every year for 20 years in a row for the best technical analysis charting platform. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We're pretty darn helpful. You know, our technical support is pretty good. I want to ask a question here for you guys. I'm putting up a slide here. I hope you can see this, this gentleman here on the screen. Tell me a little bit about, if you don't mind, throw out a couple of ideas here as to what frustrates you the most about your trading? What is it that you have the hardest time with? If you had to put it into 1 or 2 words, type it in the chat box and and let me know. Bud, did we get a picture of you? Fantastic. You're a handsome guy. Volatility, inconsistent approach, losses, that's a good one. Buying at the wrong time. Timing, when do you sell? Let's see, getting in at the right time. I see a lot of comments about timing. Computer problem, market manipulation, indicators. Okay, good. This is a really interesting list that you're reading off to me. And we've asked this question a lot. We've been in business a long time. We've asked people a lot what causes this unfortunate picture we see in front of us that we've all experienced at one time or another. And we got some answers for you based on our research. Tips from friends can cause this. Relying on your hunches. Going into it with a get-rich-quick mentality, that seems to be a really big problem. Trading on emotions. Not being able to keep your greed and your fear in check. And ultimately just not having a plan. It's interesting, your comments as they go through. A lot of people are talking about timing and getting in using the right indicators. But even if we have a great indicator and we've got great timing, once we get that started and if we don't have a plan, we're going to fall victim to the emotional response. And that can really bury us fast. And so really good. I appreciate those comments. So at Metastock, what we believe, let me just give you our belief here. It's not about winning every trade. Just want to make sure you're aware of that this is how we feel. It is about, however, creating odds and putting those odds in your favor. Okay? You're not going to win every trade. But if you have a plan, you're able to keep things in control. And if you have the right tools to execute that plan, you can increase the rate of success. And for those of us who've been trading a long time, even the slightest increase of those odds can translate into excellent investment opportunities and great returns. You have to avoid being emotional when you trade. That is so much easier said than done, and I think that this is very well displayed when we're paper trading. It's amazing how we can paper trade and execute a plan and flawlessly go into it and just have tremendous results, and then as soon as we put the real money in there, that's when the emotions kick in. And controlling those is maybe not so much about avoiding the emotions, but maybe controlling those. You've got to get emotional when you're dealing with your money. But keeping those in check is really critical. You have to have a plan. You have to know what you're going to do. When you're into a position and that position swings on you, if that position is going in a different direction, you need to know ahead of time what your plans are for that. Good money management skills. Technical analysis is the method, it's the way that you create that plan and keep yourself on track. Now, and on top of that, a lot of people, including a lot of our users, who are actually very technical folks, like looking at some fundamental analysis as well for confirmations. Question is your platform only provided for U.S. market? No, it's very international, actually. I'd say about half our customer base is outside of the United States and Canada. And the same data coverage and indicators that we use here in the States and in Canada, we can provide for our international partners. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so what is the definition then of technical analysis? Well, technical analysis is the study of prices to make better investments with charts being the primary tool. And this is directly from that book I mentioned earlier by Steve Akalis. It's fantastic, and why we love technicals and why we do this is because it's not subject to opinion. Price and volume are what they are. And I don't care if somebody jumps on the TV and screams at you, named Kramer, and says what this, that, or the other. there's a lot of opinions in those types of things, but when it comes down to it, a price is what it is, and the volume of trading is what it is. If we can use those two variables to create hundreds of different trading systems that do not require opinion. And so it does require you to have the ability to analyze that and do your homework so that you can make better decisions that way. So if we're dealing with price then and volume of trading, we're going to be able to do some pretty neat things. Now, let's look at this example here. Put a chart on the board. You can all see this here. It's a, looks like, what is this, in motion over the last 12 months. What do you think? Good stock or a bad stock? What's your opinion? Curious to know. Bud thinks bad. Anyone else? Good short, downtrend, depends on your side, good for shrink. Lots of different answers, huh? Good trending stock, I love that answer. Good. All right. You're very sharp. I appreciate that. It does depend. Okay? Now, if we were to buy this back in November of last year and hold on to it, clearly we would have lost 33%. Okay? But if we are selecting the right system to trade this, there are definitely some opportunities, as John says. Well, if we can find the right system, let's see. As a matter of fact, if we're trading the stochastic RSI on this stock over that period of time and we followed those trading signals to the T, we would have made 64% on this stock. Okay? So it depends on the system we're using. Is every system perfect for this stock? No. Is every system perfect for everything? No. But that's what you've got to find out. You've got to have a methodology for finding trading systems that work great for the items that you trade, or at least have in the past. There is no sure thing, but if you can do enough homework and try to find things that line up, you're going to be in good shape, or at least better. So, for example, this is the stochastic RSI. This is an oscillating indicator, and we have kind of an oscillating stock with that. Okay? So, for example, if we're using a trending stock like Ball Corporation here, and we're using linear regression, we're going to get a pretty good return on that, because that right there is a trending type of indicator. So just getting the right type of indicator in there can make the biggest impact on that. Okay? A couple of interesting comments here about who shapes the price curve, institutions or technical analysis. I wonder if you're asking, whether or not the institutions move the markets or we move the markets. What do you think? Who moves the markets? Are we the passenger or are we the captain? We're gonna look at that a little later. We're Warren Buffett, maybe. We're going to look at that, because tracking big money, or smart money as people say, it is really an excellent way to look into the way you're trading, actually. And a lot of institutions can leave a lot of positive direction for us to follow. We're going to look at that. Let me go over here to Metastock. And for those of you who have Metastock or have used Metastock in the past, this will be pretty familiar to you. We just came out with the newest version 2 weeks ago of Metastock. And what Metastock is designed to do really is 3 things. One is be able to chart really any instrument out there, and to be able to apply any technical criteria you can think of to it. So pre-built into Metastock, there are more than 200 trading systems to choose from. Now, caveat to that, you can make technical analysis as confusing and complicated as you would like. Me personally, I like to keep things pretty darn simple. And that's one of the beautiful parts of Metastock, is that you can do it in your way. The hallmark of Metastock over 30 years is its customizability. Because what works for me is not going to work for the next guy and the next guy and the next gal, or whoever is using the program. You can use it in the way you want. So I'll show you some different ways to do that. So we have some charting is number one. And then number 2 is this Explorer, your ability to scan the markets. This is something that I'm not sure there is another functionality that's even close to the scanning capabilities within Metastock. You can scan for some very specific technical criteria in Metastock and combinations of criteria. So there's a lot you can do there. There's, of course, a lot of preset scans in there, but you can customize and search for things on your own. We'll look at some of that tonight. And then the system tester is our back tester. It's an incredibly developed back tester. And depending on who you are and what your opinion of back testing is, there's usually nobody in the middle. You either love back testing or you don't believe in it at all. And that's fine. You know, the back testing is here, and if you're a big believer of back testing, you'll be very impressed by the level of back testing that you can do. You can really scrub down deep and find some homework. I actually am a believer in the system test, in the back test. If for no other reason, it gives me a good idea of different time frames of how well a system has performed on an instrument in the recent past and even the distant past. And I think that adds to your confidence going forward. And I believe that's what it's about. The reason you're doing homework at all is to develop confidence in your trade. Okay? Let's start with just some basic charting. And I think you'll gain right away some of the simplicity behind it. Even though it's an incredibly complicated program underneath, it actually has a very nice interface to work with. So we could just go ahead and type in Apple here if we wanted to open a chart, or if we didn't know what the symbol was. We should go to this little symbol lookup tool and just type in Apple under instrument name. It's going to pull up every instrument with Apple in it. And of course, there's lots of different Apples that are traded around the world, but the NASDAQ is .o, so that's what we want. We don't want any of these other countries. So that's how we could find it, or we could just type it in. The other way you can do that, which is nice, is that Metastock from this console right here gives you every exchange across the world. And so if we were looking for something on the NASDAQ, we could go ahead and click that. We have the entire constituency of the NASDAQ listed to the right. We could simply just click on one. Or we could even go into to drill down deeper into indexes. And we could go ahead and just select from, say, the NASDAQ 100 or the S&P 500, however we'd want to go about that. Not too hard, pretty simple actually. So we'll go ahead and type in AAPL.O because that's the symbol for Apple. And the next screen we get is how far back do we want to look. If we'd like to apply a template or attach some indicators at this point, we can. I think I'll just open the chart to start out with. And I've got a MACD that looks like I used last time I used Apple. So I'll get rid of that. We'll take that off for a second. Okay. What's fantastic about Metastock, we're talking about that customizability. First thing you're going to see whenever you pull up a chart is, of course, the price bars. You're also going to be able to see the volume. That'll come up standard on each one. What's great about Metastock is you can pretty much right-click on anything and have the ability to change it to something else, like candlesticks. Okay. Now, from this point, looks like pretty much any other charting program out there as far as that's concerned. But this is where it gets pretty exciting with Metastock, are all of these trading systems that are set up standard as part of the program. Literally hundreds of them. I'm curious to know what your favorite technical indicators are. Let me know. What is it that you use? I find that there's 5 or 6 real classical indicators that everybody uses and likes, or at least refers to. But I'm curious to know what you use. CCI, okay, Bollinger Bands, stochastics, MACD, Bollinger Bands, moving averages, stochastics, RSI, MACD, Williams, I use that, moving averages. There's a lot of very there's some consistency in here, isn't there? A MACD, for example, is a very popular and classical. Steve says, my gut. We could go in there and grab, say, a MACD, and just simply apply it. As simple as that. We can go in there and change the signal time periods if we'd like. So we've got that right there. And usually when you're new to having an indicator or charting platform, the thing I always hear is, gosh, I wish I knew the logic behind how this thing works. Well, what's great in Metastock is there's a little guy up here with a hat. And you can click on that, and you can go to these systems. And this program right here for the MACD, we'll just attach it and close. And it will translate for us the buy and sell signals on the price bars. And if you click View at the top, it gives you an expert commentary, and it will explain and tell you in great detail why the MACD is generating the signal it's generating right now. Okay? It's one of my favorite features in Metastock is that it gives you a chance to really learn why you're getting the signal you're getting. I think that's important for technical analysis, is to know why. I mean, it's mathematics behind it to start with, right? We should be able to get a good idea of what it is. So there's your MACD. If we wanted to, we could go ahead and select any number of others and go ahead and put those on the same chart. Kind of take a look at them side by side. So let's go ahead and grab an RSI. We'll apply that as well. Okay. I'm not familiar with the TSV. It might be that something is part of the TC2000. We also have some exclusive indicators that are pretty popular. One's called the Rahul Mohindar oscillator. Yeah, I would say my favorite indicator is actually the RMO, the Rahul Mohindar oscillator. If we have time, I'll definitely show you that. It's something that's exclusively in Metastock and has been really popular with our traders. In fact, a lot of reason why people come to Metastock is for that system alone. All right. So we can go ahead and apply as many of these indicators as we want. In fact, we've got customized templates that you can go in and you can set up and put these up in really any way you'd like. For example, this popular template here will throw in a MACD, stochastic oscillator, and a relative strength index all together. Okay? And I'm going to avoid giving you recommendations as what's a good indicator for this or what's a good indicator for that. I don't know that it would be very responsible to start with without giving you a lot of depth to answer that question. I will teach you how to search for and find the right systems for you. There's a lot of variables there for what you're trading. Okay, so that's your basic charting in Metastock. You'd expect it to be able to do that. Okay, RMO is on the MetaTrader 4. Well, I'm not sure it's the same RMO. I'm going to say if it is, it might be something that got, hacked or somebody kind of tried to put it together. It might be a variation of it, though. That wouldn't be uncommon out there. Okay, well, I will show you the RMO. I will, because I like it. I trade with it, and I've had good experience with it. First, though, I want to show you how we scan the markets. And so let's use, for example, let's go to that Power Console once again. In fact, let me close this down here. And let's go ahead and do a scan looking for that MACD. Now, here's a question for you. And whoever answers it first gets the A to Z book. How about this? What are the fields that a MACD generates? There's 4 of them. What is a MACD trying to pinpoint? Who knows the answer? Convergence, divergence, moving average, that's what it is. Price volume, buy, sell, trend momentum, that's the closest one yet. Car, the other half of it. There are 4 data points. You're so close. 4 data points. Buy, sell, overbought, oversold, those 4. So really, James and Carl, you both won. So I'm going to keep track of that, and I'll give you my email address afterwards, and you can remind me, okay? So that's what we're looking for. So when we go in here to this Explorer, we can go ahead and just select the MACD expert system, and that's going to go ahead and search across a broad amount of instruments out there for those data points. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this exploration on the NASDAQ 100. So all I have to do is go to that list, select 100, select all of them, and just in a couple of buttons, I can start this. Right now, it's running through the 100 instruments on the NASDAQ 100, and it's putting together a report for me that shows whether or not we have overbought, oversold, or buy and sell signals according to the MACD system. Okay? Okay. This program is actually downloaded to your machine. It does not run on the cloud, but the data is coming straight from Thomson Reuters, and it is cloud-based. So anytime you log into Metastock, you're getting the most updated data possible. Okay. All right, and you will see a lot of Trading the RMO YouTube videos on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Metastock. So right now we just got a report from this exploration, you guys, off the NASDAQ 100. And it's telling us that we do not have a single item that's showing a buy signal right now. Not surprising in the way the market's been going the last few days, huh? We do show a couple. If you've got a 1 here in the column, it means you have a correct data point. So right now we're showing that there's some short positions being generated according to the MACD. Nothing is overbought. And of that 100 securities there, looks like we have 5 that are in an oversold status. Okay. And so we could go through and open all of these or just 1 or 2 of these. Let's look at some of these that are in a short position right now. Let's check something. I am not involved or invested in Nuance. Let's take a look at it. Just click Open Chart. And here we have Nuance. And so what we can do is we can just go ahead and attach that buy-sell signal, and according to the scan we just did, we should be able to see, indeed, the MACD sell signal just triggered here. Okay, and in fact, we'll get a little alert that pops up on the other screen there. And those alerts can be sent to your phones and such like that, of course. So the MACD said here just a couple days ago, go ahead and buy. Now it's saying sell. If there is a knock on the MACD that in an oscillating situation or sideways trading, you might see it's very jumpy. It gets you in and out a lot. It's one of the reasons why I really like this RMO that I mentioned earlier, because it does a good job smoothing things out. So if the MACD is a system that we like, if it happens to be one of the systems that you use on a regular basis and you like the signals for that, then it's very, very simple in Metastock to search the broad market. You could run a search through all 7,000 or so instruments in the U.S. market, for example, or any other market across the world for that matter, looking for these buy and sell signals on the MACD. Okay? And you can also do the same for an RSI or for really any of these systems that you see here. I mean, even if we wanted to, we could go through and scan for things like, we could go and do customized scan, for example. I'll just show you very briefly. We could go ahead and just click New, and we could go ahead and just say, hey, we're going to search for anything that's a doji star right now. Go in there, go into Candlestick, select doji star, and then that scan right there, we'll just search for anything that's a doji star, or whatever it is you're looking for. You can either program it yourself, or we'll do it for you. But I will put it this way. You do not have to worry about it not being in there. If it's a technical criteria of any kind, we are able to program it in there. Let's get some questions. I'm getting a lot of them. Okay. Metastock is not set up for the iPad yet. I'm going to show you another tool that is at this point. Right now we are looking at daily charts, and we'll take a look at a couple of real-time charts in a moment. How far back can you go? Typically about 20 or 30 years. I know that the Dow Jones, we have just the index itself will go back about 1929. But remember, we're owned by Thomson Reuters, and so the data that goes out to our retail clients, our Metastock clients, is the same data that is going out to our institutional clients, the hedge fund managers and our brokers that we sell to. Obviously, the retail person pays a lot less, but it's the same data. So it's a really clean data source and very well respected in the market. Okay. And so we're going to look at an oscillator, Lou. That's what the RMO is. We're going to trends, absolutely. I mean, as far as the tools along the lines here, you know, spotting and setting up trend lines, no problem in Metastock. Okay, anything you would expect there. Okay, Donna wants to know how to get the screen bigger. I'm not sure, Donna. I think that there is a button there on the webinar software that should be able to increase your screen size for you. That would be something you'd have to do on your end there. Okay. So that's the Explorer. That's, I think, one of the big keys is going forward and saying, hey, what's going on in the market right now? I like these indicators. I want to scan for the buy and sell signals that are based on those indicators. Well, what if you're not sure about a system? You want to see how it would have performed. Well, that's what the back testing is about. Go back to our Power Console. We click on our System Tester, and we can actually run through any one of these here. Let's just stick with the MACD, since we're real familiar with it. And we'll click Next. We'll go ahead and select the NASDAQ 100, and let's check the NASDAQ 100 and see who has performed the best on the MACD over the last couple of years. So we're going to look for both long trades and short trades, and I'm actually going to do the last 4 years of history on a daily basis. We could run this on a lot of different intervals, but let's do it daily and stay consistent for just a moment. We'll start that system test, and you'll see down here it's running through the 100, scanning each one of them, and see how the performance would have been over the last 4 years for each instrument on the NASDAQ 100. Now, why would this be important or valuable to me? Well, I'm actually very interested in what the stock has done in the last week, in the last month, in the last 4 months, and the last year. Everybody kind of has their own system for that. But I like to know if my trading system has been successful recently, in the midterm, and in the past. And that's my own personal usage. So the simulation is completed. Let's take a look at the results. We get this chart. And I'll go ahead and sort it by profit. And it tells me that of the 100 instruments on the NASDAQ 100, and we could run this back test on any grouping of stocks or instruments you'd like, or your own portfolio, or your own custom list of stocks. It tells me actually that Sears, of all things, performed the best over the last 4 years using the MACD. So did Randgold, Apollo, Fossil, Biogen, Costco, and then a bunch that were just kind of average, and then some real dogs at the bottom of the list that didn't make it very much impact using this trading system. Does that mean that Amazon is a bad stock? No. What it means is that it doesn't perform well in the recent past, or rather the distant past, the last 4 years, using a MACD system. So taking that for what it's worth, the next step would be, well, what systems have worked great for Amazon? We know this one doesn't work great over that period of time. Well, you can do that type of a back test too. So let's go back in there and do another one. And let's say we wanted to do the MACD, Bollinger Bands, stochastic oscillator, relative strength, those 4. And we want to do it on, somebody give me a symbol. What's a symbol that I can use for this particular scan? Anyone curious to know? Something from your portfolio, maybe? Let's see. Let's just use Costco. Or well, let's just use Amazon, like we were talking about. Let's see if it was good on these trading systems. Okay, and we start that. Now, what we have here is that actually all of those oscillating systems were not the way to go over that period of time. What if we changed the time parameter for that? And we said What if it's only the last, 250 records? Then what? Different story in the recent past. It looks like the stochastic oscillator expert system and Bollinger Bands actually work pretty well in the recent past. So you have to kind of take that for what it's worth. From a homework standpoint, you can very quickly see over the last couple of weeks or the last couple of years how your portfolio has reacted to certain standardized or even classical trading systems. Any questions on the back testing? Okay. Oh, and I apologize. You were all giving me symbols, and I missed them completely because my chat box was down. So let me do this again using one of yours. So we're going to go ahead and we go in there and do a system test on. Let's do it on. Yeah, you could do it on an index, and let's do it on the Dow. That's good. So. Okay. Well, all of these perform pretty well in that scenario. But yeah, you could actually run like an entire index on the Dow, the S&P 500. But I hope you're starting to see that the backtesting utility is something that is designed to just give you an additional data point to look at and say, okay, I kind of settled in on a trading system that works for me. How has it worked on some of these new instruments that I've discovered through the scanning utility? Okay. Now, before I move on to the RMO, and I'm going to come back to that, I want to show it to you because it's a system I use and has become very, very popular with our users. And let me answer this question. Do I mean that some indicators work well some of the time? Yes. Sometimes they don't work, and sometimes they do. There's a lot of variables. You know, you can have a MACD that will just fail you miserably because you're using it on a stock that just hasn't performed well on it or just doesn't. That's why I think you use a grouping of indicators. Something that's very helpful is to use 1, 2, 3, or 4 even indicators on a template, like I showed earlier, that can really help you. So how do we find the best indicator for a specific stock without having to test them one by one? Okay, Elliott waves I like too. Well, Mark, that's a really good question. I'm going to show you that one more time here. So for example, if I could actually run 5 or 6 of these. I could run 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Let's say we have these 4 systems. We click next, and we could go through and select the entire NASDAQ, for example, okay? And so you could do that, and it would generate a report that would show you how each one of those had fared under each of those. I mean, you can do an enormous amount of research, okay? We do have a plugin, Donna, for Elliott waves that's specific to Elliott waves. It does the same activity that we're doing right now specifically for Elliott waves, okay? That's not a standard part of Metastock. It is an add-on, but it's one that if you're into Elliott waves, it's fantastic, okay? You can backtest for oversold condition with a doji, and the next day it gaps up. You can do that. That's the brilliant thing about Metastock is Van White here has a very specific idea for a backtest. And although Metastock probably doesn't, I guarantee it doesn't come standard with that one already set up, but guess what? We can create that for you, okay? Absolutely. Fibonacci retracements, yes, we have all the Fibonacci tools in Metastock as well, okay? So, Mark, you know, I want to specify the stock and run all the indicators at once. Yes, you can. Right now, and we're doing this on end of day and not real time. However, you can do these same activities on a real time chart. For example, all we'd have to do is come down here and go and select it, let's say a 10-minute chart. So now all the rules, of course, for the MACD haven't changed, but now we're just changing the periodicity. So now that the bars are no longer giving us the high, low, open, and close of each daily period, They're giving us the high, low, open, and close of each 10-minute or 15-minute period. Okay. All right. And actually, I think we have some of Stephen's setups pre-built. And for those of you who purchase or subscribe to Metastock, we have those built for you guys. I'm pretty sure about that. Okay. I am running a little bit out of time, so I apologize. You guys have awesome questions. I want to show you that RMO real quickly, and then what we're going to do is show you a couple of other things that I think are just amazing, things that are just not available anywhere else. So let me go ahead and just detach this little expert advisor here. And so we'll stay on this nuance, or let's use one of yours. Go ahead and give me some of your symbols again. Let's use your symbols. And we'll look at things that are in yours. So EOG. EOG resources, okay, let's check that out. So, all right, good looking trend here. Let's apply the RMO. Now the RMO is a template, and as I mentioned, I like using multiple indicators together. And that's what the RMO does. It's a collection of indicators working together. It's actually looking for 3 steps. I really like this one for that reason. Below we have our price bars, of course. Volume, little bullish, bearish ribbon right here. And what I mentioned earlier, I like to keep things simple. That is the strength of this system is not overly complicated, okay? So what we're dealing with is the oscillator at the top here. And an oscillating indicator, of course, is looking for things that are either above or below the 0 line. So if it's above, we're sitting in a bullish territory right here. Okay? And if it's below, oddly enough, we're sitting bearish. Pretty simple to determine, isn't it? And so there are 3 conditions that we have to have for a long position, and there are 3 conditions you have to have for a short position. If you don't have all 3, you don't take that trade. And that's kind of the rules and the money management that goes into the plan behind this system. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory, okay? Yeah, let me get that over to candlesticks for you. Let me give you a little backstory on Metastock's, this system rather. Mr. Mohindar, this is developed by a gentleman named Rahul Mohindar. He is kind of a big shot in India in the financial markets. You see him a lot on CNN and some of the other financial stations there. Pretty well known. He also happens to be the exclusive reseller for Metastock in the country of India. So he's been with us for years and years, and you know, there is a little bit of a problem with software piracy in that part of the world, believe it or not. And so we've always kind of struggled with selling our software out there like everybody else does. Well, one year his software sales for Metastock just went through the roof. They quite literally quadrupled. And we asked him, well, what is the deal? He said, well, I have this trading system I created in Metastock. I created it myself, and it's become kind of popular out here, and I give it to anybody who buys Metastock from me. So we wanted to see what the big fuss was about it. He gave it to us, and he allowed us to actually put it in standard in Metastock. In the last 2 years, it's really become very popular here in the States, especially with our U.S. users. It's based on these 3, 1, 2, 3 conditions, and they're very easy to use. Number 1 condition for a long has been filled here. We're bullish. The green line, the green histogram is above the 0 line. Let's go to step number 2. Step number 2 is our pink histogram. Is it above the 0 line? In fact, it is. So right now, that also is bullish. Step number 3 is this blue line, which is more of kind of a medium-term average. And where it crosses into the pink is where we get that third. And I actually find that to be a little easier to look at when that's a line study. So just like anything else in Metastock, I can change it from a histogram to a line. And that might be a little easier for, I think, for new users of Metastock to look at this as a line. So I'll just change that real quickly. Makes it a little easier, I think, to see those crossover points. So for example, this crossover point here was that 3rd condition. So it looks like we triggered a buy right there. And sure enough, we did. go ahead and zoom in on this for you. Right here, this crossover point generated that blue arrow for the reason because we had a crossover. The pink short-term trend was up over into bullish zone, and the green histogram was in bullish. We have 1, 2, 3 set. We could have taken that trade right on that day. And that's a pretty good signal, actually. They don't always have to line up on the same day. In fact, they rarely do. Usually you have to wait a couple of days for it to develop. Let's see if it did that in the past here. Sure enough, we had this short position here that we didn't take because we were sitting in bullish here and bullish here with the crossover, so we can ignore that. Okay? Yeah, and you know what? Steve's system probably would have. I mean, like I said, not every system is perfect. There's some systems that work great for you, some systems that work great for this guy. The RMO does have, I think it's a good complement to what you're doing. I hope you're not just using one system. I hope you're using multiple things to confirm the direction of where you're going. This just happens to be one that Metastock users really like. Let me show you how you scan for that. So for example, we go to our scanning utility. We're going to look for, what I do is I like to look for that blue arrow. We can scan on all different types of things here, but I actually like looking for that swing trade by arrow. That tells me that tells me right there, if I've got at least one of the conditions, at least the one that I think is the most important. So we go ahead and click next. Let's just stick with the NASDAQ 100. We search for it, and sure enough, it runs through that same search criteria that we just did. Okay. So the exit for the RMO is just the opposite. If we're getting a red arrow, that means a downturn crossover, and we've got the histogram in bearish territory, and the pink short-term trend in bearish territory. So just the opposites would be your exit. And nothing right now. Nothing on the NASDAQ 100 is generating a blue buy. Of course it's not. Not with the last couple of days. So that would have told me I probably just need to do a bigger scan if I'm looking for a long-term position for that. Then I would need to open that up and maybe do 500, 600 stocks for that scan. Okay. The other thing we could do is actually look for short positions, which have been abundant right now. And so we could go here and do the same thing. We could actually go to our Explorer and look for the swing trade sell arrow and run the same thing. You want to see the RMO on Apple? We could do that. Let's do that while that's running that exploration. And let's see, can we change the parameters on RMO? You cannot actually. It is locked. He keeps it under lock and key. That's why I thought maybe out there'd be a couple of cracked or ideas on the RMO out there, but there's only like 2 people here at Metastock that know the formula. It's locked. So it does look like we've got some good, short positions being generated by the RMO. Okay. I hope you're seeing how easy it is to scan using Metastock, and especially for you folks who have really specific ideas of what you'd like to scan. I think that's the brilliant part of Metastock, and you can scan through stocks, options, futures, Forex. Our Forex data is incredibly detailed. You could search virtually any index out there. Because remember, we're dealing with an institutional grade access to data. It's really unparalleled by other providers out there. So we hope you'll be able to take advantage of it and give it a try today. Well, let's pull up Apple. And we'll apply that template to it. Oops, I put an extra 0 in there. Let's try that again. We won't save that. Put in Apple. You'd think Apple could have gotten a symbol that actually spelled similar to Apple. Okay. We'll get rid of that MACD. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and apply the template, and that'll wipe it out for me. Close that one. Okay, so here's my RMO, and it did generate pretty darn good sell signal right there at the top. Now, according to the rules, though, of the Metastock RMO, it's kind of conservative. We actually wouldn't have taken this position until we got red bars down here. We had to wait for things to go ahead and develop and get into that zone. So there is a kind of a conservative level versus a, a very, I don't know, you could say a high risk level, okay? Now, I have customers that I work with who use this system and trade strictly the arrows, and they could care less what's going on at the top or in the middle. They just trade the arrows. And frankly, if you were doing that on Apple the last couple of months, you wouldn't have done too badly. It's a pretty decent looking system there, but it is higher risk. Okay, it is a long, short program, exactly. You can take the short signals by having all three conditions on the bearish side, or you can take the long position with having all three conditions on the long side, the bullish side. Okay. There's a really great video on this on our YouTube channel that I'll direct you to. Go to youtube.com/Metastock for our channel and just search RMO. I actually have a couple of videos that I posted there, a couple by Mr. Mohinder himself. I really recommend checking that out. Let's see. Okay, good question I want to cover off from Ed. It looks like there's a couple of false arrows. You're correct, but what's great about that is that the arrow is simply indicating the fact, like for example this one. This is not a sell signal. This is telling us that we had a crossover of the short-term trend and the medium-term trend. Because the bars are blue, we don't take that short position right there. We ignore it. And so unlike a MACD where you get in and out all the time, the RMO does a great job of keeping things smooth. You'll notice that during the time that this sell arrow came up, we had this bullish run at the top in the histogram. That's telling us to be aware the short-term trend did just dive. However, the prevailing trend is strong. Stay in the trade. He also has a cool thing where whenever you get a blue arrow when you're already in the trade, that's where you tighten up your stop to. All right, I'm so excited for this system. I love it a lot. I love Metastock, so I hope I'm not going too quickly for everybody. It's something that I'm really passionate about, but I do want to cover off on one other instrument or one other tool that can be very helpful to you. And it's something that we've gotten from Thomson Reuters. And this is something we give to everybody who uses our real-time version of Metastock. It does have a lot of buttons, Eric. Yes. And like I said earlier, the problem is that you can make it as complicated as you want. But I think you'll notice that most of the buttons I push today all come off of this right here. This power console gets you everything you need to do right away. Out of the box, 10 minutes, you'll be flying through this thing, okay? Because you're going to be able to get charting, get scanning, and get back testing really fast, okay? Now, if you decide you want to use retracement tools or other things off the toolbar, there's lots of fun exploration you can do with that. And that's all available to you. This is a brand new feature that's part of Metastock 12 that we just released. Previous versions of Metastock did not have the power console. So if you have 11, call us up and upgrade so that you can get a hold of this. It's a great tool. It makes life a lot easier. Okay? And I'll go into the real-time stuff now, get some questions on that. The real-time version of Metastock, so that you can chart things on a regular basis on different time intervals, minute to minute. The data comes from a platform that Thomson Reuters built specifically for brokers. They spent millions and millions of dollars on a program called ICON. Has anybody heard of ICON? It's an institutional product. It's not available or was not available to retail traders. We went to them and we asked them if we could have a version of it, and they practically gave us the whole thing. There's very little in this that is not part of the retail version. What this is a tool that gives you news and research and live data and quotes. And it comes as a part of Metastock Pro. And so this is kind of a fun, fundamental place for you to get news. Okay? And the data is coming the same way that it's coming as it would go out to the broker. It would be exactly the same. So, for example, we could go ahead and click on the Dow here, and it's going to give us a real quick overview of the Dow. So, just right out of the gate, if you're a day trader especially, and you want to get a good feel for what's going on in an index, this is a great place to start. Gives you some basic charts, all the news right here going on, your top performers and your bottom performers. What's great is you can just click on this Constituents tab, and you can go ahead and grab really anything off of there and drill into it very, any way you'd like. For example, if we wanted to look at Coca-Cola, you could just click Coca-Cola, and it'll pull up a similar screen specifically to Coca-Cola. So you get your news right here, all the breaking news as it comes in every day and every minutes on the time. Recent developments, their filings, everything else you'd want from a fundamental standpoint. Where I think this really helps us who are into technicals is your ability to search for great fundamental data and then import that into your Metastock and run your scans and your technical analysis on it. Okay. Cost of this, to purchase the program, it's about $1,400 to own the real-time program, and it's a $150 data fee going forward. However, I do have a way for you to give it a try. Normally, to just simply rent the program or lease it on a monthly basis, we offer that for $100 plus, of course, the data fee for $150, so $250 a month. What I want to do for you guys who are in the room today is I want to give you 3 full months of it for the price of 1 month. And so that's something that's specific to the Candlestick Trading Forum. I have a link that I'll be able to give you that you can go to sign up for that. That link, and I'm going to type it in here, is www.metastock.com/candlestick-forum341. Okay, that link right there will allow you to sign up for that, where you're only paying for 1 month, but you're getting an additional 2 months with that for free. I strongly recommend that. It's going to give you a lot of time. If you are like most people, at the end of 3 months, you should really know whether or not this is helping your trading. We want to give you a good run with it. If you decide to keep it, like most people do, purchase the program. You can buy it for a one-time price for life. If not, no problem. You can simply cancel it. You're not held to any kind of contract. We'll shake hands and part very good friends, and we'll see you in another webinar someday. We've been doing business for 30 years. We know how to do it. We know how to take care of our customers. What we'll do is we'll send you that link. Come and visit us so that you can see. Okay. The deal, I'm going to put it on the screen for you. And I didn't get to go into much of that icon, guys, but it's really powerful. Let me put it up here again for so we can see my PowerPoint here. Okay, so here's the offer. For end-of-day traders, you guys actually, it's only $59 for a month. And I'll still give you 2 additional months for free. Okay? So you would pay us literally $60, and you'd have Metastock end of day. So everything you saw today for daily charts, you'd get for 3 months. For the Pro and the Icon, the real time and the news, it's $250, and you get it for 3 months. I will tell you this. A couple Thursdays ago, did anybody lose money in Google a couple Thursdays ago? Anybody? I hope not. That was a rough day if you were holding Google about 2 Thursdays ago when they fumbled their stuff, their filings. Well, we checked in Icon, and the news of their missed earnings for Google went out about 15 minutes to Icon users before any of the general markets knew about it. The institutions do move the markets, like we talked about before. You know, they get news before you and I do, because they're getting it through these institutional platforms. If you had Icon and you were holding Google and you were, set up to get an alert for any Google news, you would have gotten out when the institutions did, before the NASDAQ shut down. So if you trade on news, or if news influences the way you trade, you day traders, you need to try Icon. Okay? So Donna, end of day for 59. Metastock Pro is the 250 if you want to have any intraday data at all. Okay? That would start out delayed. You have to pay your exchange fee, maybe $1 for the NASDAQ, $1 for the NYSE, $1 for the AMEX. Okay. If you have an upgrade, we are having an upgrade special right now. I'm going to give you my phone numbers. It's for those of you who already have version 10 or 11. Go ahead and email me, if you wouldn't mind, dave.osmond, O-S-M-O-N-D, at thomsonreuters.com. Just email me directly. We'll get you set up, because I actually have a special offer for you guys who want to upgrade. We'll get you a discount. Okay. The data fee, Michael, is $150 for the real time. You can simply purchase the program outright for about $1,400, and then you can pay for your data either monthly, or you can pay for it annually for about a 20% discount. So gosh, I really appreciate you guys. I wish I could stay here another half hour and go over Icon with you. That'd probably bore you all to death, and my wife really wants me to get home. I got 7 kids and a wife at home. I need to get back. So hey, I really appreciate your time, and call me, or certainly feel free to email me so that I can go ahead and set that up. For those of you, Donna, if you decide to sign up for Metastock, I'll give you a book for free. Okay? I'll give anybody who signs up that technical analysis A to Z, will give it to you for free. Okay? Just let me know, though. That's not something they'll give you over the phone if you call in generally. You need to make sure you email me or mention that you're with Candlestick Trading Forum. All right? Hey, we sure like you guys. We sure love the way Stephen does things, and we wish you all the best of luck in your trading, and give us a call. We'll be happy to be working with you. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you, David. And one thing that I want to add is, when it comes to customer service, I don't think I've run into anybody in the investment area that gives better service than Metastock. They will bend over backwards to help resolve problems or issues, way above and beyond what I've seen from other firms. So thank you, everybody, for showing up. We'll see you all in the chat rooms.